This is Ronaldo and the rest of Portugal that won the Euro in 2016.
He's the man that has won the European Championship for Portugal.
And now fast forward to 8 years. This is Ronaldo and the rest of the Portugal in 2024. A team that mostly relied on individual brilliance and played pragmatic football throughout the years are now showcasing some of the best team brilliance. With the technicality of Leao Cancelo and Vitinha on the left, creativity of Bruno Dalot and Silva on the right, and the finishing of Ronaldo or Jota at the center, they are creating chances from almost every corners of the pitch. And with the introduction of positional rotations and an unusual back three, Portugal not only utilizing their offensive talents, but also became the most exciting team to watch. So what are the new tactics of Portugal that made this possible, and how they are implementing positional interchanges in it? Let's discuss in this video. Before we dive into the tactics, if you love playing football and want to improve your game intelligence, one revolutionary way footballers are training their scanning is with Be Your Best, a football training app in virtual reality, currently being used by thousands of players and clubs across the world, from amateurs to professionals to national associations. And this is where we can jump back to last summer when the German under-17s were crowned European champions for the first time in 14 years. But how did VR help them? Well, around 2 years back, Be Your Best started working with the German football team in a study to test the effectiveness of their training tool. And at a training camp in Spain, players were introduced to the technology before undergoing a 9-week VR training regime to improve their scanning, vision, and decision-making, where the players were filmed in 2 games, one before starting the training and one after to track their improvement. And the results were incredible, as 80% of players had more head movement and took up better positions in the second game, with the average scan rate also increasing by 28% amongst all players. Thus, dozens of studies have already shown the link between a high scan rate and increased forward pass completion, highlighting the importance of training this skill. So if you want to become a more calm and composed player on the pitch, you'll first need a MetaQuest 2 or Quest 3 VR headset, and then head to BeYourBest.com and use my code DK20 to get a discount of 20% on your first month or first year subscription. However, if you're watching this video during the Euros, then you can get 40% off on a yearly subscription by using the code EURO40. So just go to BeYourBest.com to get started, and the link is also in the description. Also, a big thanks to Be Your Best for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the tactics. Under the Santos era, Portugal typically lined up in a 4-4-2 or 4-3-3 formation. However, instead of the usual 4-3-3, he prioritized defensive responsibilities and limited the opposition's attacking routes. This often resulted in relying on the individual brilliance of Ronaldo and other talents to capitalize on counterattacks and set pieces. While Santos' methods brought success for Portugal, but the team's style was somewhat restrictive and didn't fully utilize the attacking capabilities of their talented players. But after the arrival of Roberto Martinez, he shifted Portugal from a reactive 4-3-3 style into a flexible 4-3-3 that can morph into a 3-2-5 or 3-4-3 depending on the phase of play. This new approach balances defensive solidity with attacking flair. And unlike Santos' rigid structure, Martinez encourages his players to interchange positions and create overloads in order to make them unpredictable and harder to defend against. One example of this is during the Santos era. When they were pressed with more numbers up front, they often started their build-up through the flanks or played long balls centrally. As due to the high nature of the 4+1 pattern, the center-backs struggled to connect the ball with the midfielders. So Martinez introduced a new role to solve this issue, which is the false CDM role, in which instead of using a 4+1 shape, he made his CDM to drop back between the center-backs and form a defensive diamond with the goalkeeper, and then allowed the fullbacks to push up as wingbacks, and the central mids moved back to the pivot position. This transformed them from a 4+1 into a massive 4+4 shape, including the keeper. And this overload created superiority against the opposition's front line, helping them circulate the ball easily and providing multiple forward options from all sides to transition into the second phase.
Their qualifying campaign, where it all started in...
And this change not only helped them at the back, but also boosted their attacking strength from wide areas. As previously due to the back four, players like Cancelo and Dalot, who are known more for their attacking traits, couldn't fully utilize their potential on the flanks. This restriction forced the wingers to stay wide, resulting in fewer players in the center and a heavy reliance on Ronaldo to score. However, with the back three, these players have become additional wingers who takes charge of wide creations. This allows more numbers in the central areas and reduces the pressure on Ronaldo or other forwards.
Cancelo.
But when they play this against the low-pressing sides, then this shape can struggle to get into the other half of the pitch. As with both number 8s moving deep, there is no one in the advanced positions to connect with the forwards. So to solve this, just like Postecoglou, Martinez uses two inverted fullbacks. For example, when the CDM drops deep to form a back three, both the fullbacks drift centrally as a double pivot. This allows both the center mids to stay into their advanced positions and stretch the low-pressing teams vertically. And using these movements, Martinez applies a combination of positional interchanges and diagonal ladder to progress the ball after the build-up. So for example, when the ball is passed to the right back, the left back quickly drift in as a pivot and allows the center mid to advance forward. And in order to create further space for him, the striker also drops deep near the ball carrier and attracts all the obstacles from the center mids towards him. This then creates a diagonal ladder-like pattern, which eventually helps them to progress the ball directly into higher spaces with less numbers. In the final third, in order to cover the responsibility of the attacking wingback, the CDM needs to stay deep to form a wide back three. This leaves the central pivot open, which are crucial for containing counterattacks directly. And as a result, the central mids or fullbacks have to stay deep or invert by compromising their aggressive play. So to address this, Martinez came up with an alternative solution that he has played frequently with Belgium, in which instead of a false CDM and wingers, he played a proper back three and two forwards, and then added a proper pivot behind the central mids. This created a solid defensive support with a 3+1 diamond, allowing complete freedom for the center mids and fullbacks to advance and create chances forward. And with the defense being fully protected using this, Martinez partners both his wingbacks and center mids with the strikers to form a wide rotational triangles. And these triangles manipulate the opposition's markings with constant roaming movements and create frequent gaps for scoring opportunities.
Rhino to shadow him. Step over from Dallo, who goes again. He's in behind Scares.
After watching the game against Czechia, one thing is clear to say that Portugal have a huge number of exceptional creative playmakers from all positions. However, despite of their creativities, these playmakers sometimes struggles to convert these chances into goals. For example, in that same game, they had 8 shots on target, but they scored only 2. So they really need to enhance their finishing and convert those high number of chances into real goals. Also at defense, even when playing with a back 3, Portugal still struggles against long balls and quick transitions. As apart from Ruben Dias and Pepe, they lack an experienced and technically strong defenders who can contain these counters. And looking at their squad, they have Inacio and Antonio Silva, who are both under 23 and have just started playing for Portugal. So this presents a real challenge for Martinez in maintaining a back 3 with 3 proper defenders. And it's also one of the reasons why he introduced a false CDM, as he allows experienced players like Palhinha or Ruben Neves to drop deep as a third defender. So looking at the back, in order to apply Martinez's false CDM, the number 6 could be a libero, who starts deep during the build-up to create the numerical superiority and then advances forward as a CDM when they attack. And due to him, both the fullbacks are free to move higher, with the left back acting as an inverted wingback. As the left wing is often dominated by Leao's presence, the left back usually focuses on staying central or in the half spaces. And with Bernardo Silva on the right, there is a strong need for a natural winger to provide width and maintain balance, so the right back plays as an advancing wingback. In the midfield, both the number 8s are given freedom to roam across the pitch. Their main job is to interchange positions to drag markers towards them, make quick runs into open spaces created by others, or use their exceptional creative passings to make things happen. While on the left, Leao is a brilliant inverted winger who uses his exceptional dribbling skills and ball-carrying ability to shift focus from Ronaldo or others to himself and forces the opposition to send more numbers to beat his dribbling. Finally, up front, Ronaldo is all set to be a target man, and despite his age, he still involves in the link-ups and make positional rotations to create space for others. Also, by using ball carriers and positional interchanges, it has drastically freed up Ronaldo or other striker with fewer markers around them, resulting in more scoring opportunities. Looking at Martinez's instructions, he shifted them from a balanced counter-attacking side into an expressive attacking team, as he emphasizes creating constant opportunities through rotations and overloads in order to keep the oppositions on the edge of guessing. While at defense, Portugal has shifted from a mid-pressing side to a high-pressing team where they use highly intensive players who constantly roam towards the ball direction. In the final third, Martinez prefers to look for overlaps and runs at defense, as both Portuguese fullbacks now have the freedom to make overlapping runs and focus more on positional fluidity. So it's safe to say that Portugal are slowly moving away from relying on individual brilliance to becoming a team built on collective brilliance. And with all these significant tactical shifts, they have the potential to be a consistent contenders for future tournaments if they address all their weaknesses quickly. And speaking about contenders, Arteta, who was just on the verge of getting sacked a few years ago, has transformed his team into a consistent title contenders. And with his new locking mechanism, he also turned them into a best defensive side in Europe. So how Arteta's new tactics transformed Arsenal, and what's the locking mechanism I'm talking about? Let's find out by clicking this video, so hope to see you there.